Hello, I'm Duffy O'Connor, and I will demonstrate marker rendering for this loft apartment space for perspective and rendering at Harper College. All right, so I made some recommendations for marker colors. You can come close. Different brands will have similar colors. The marker colors were chosen to be able to create the appearance of certain kinds of materials. This sort of sandy brick, which also works for this oak flooring, this dark brown leather sofa, and the dark walnut base for the Noguchi coffee table. Okay. Wall colors are going to be open-ended. You see some of these that I have here, just experimenting with some blue or green. I'm not so crazy about that color. I was seeing wanted to see how it looked. So they also can be white. I mentioned in a message to you that the markers will sometimes be too saturated. If you put the marker down and you want a white wall or an off-white wall, the marker, except maybe the zero gray in the Copic brand, other than that, they're going to be too dark to look like it's a light wall. They might just, they might be able to just do shadows. So a pastel, I have this like pastel-y pencil right here. It's not, you might not need it, but if I were to do like just a little bit of color, this is kind of a dusty material. So it can be just like a little bit put on the surface and then smudged so that it would give you this sort of like cream color, which is really, it allows you to do something lighter than marker will allow you to do. Something to keep in mind. The color drawing book by Michael Doyle that I showed you early in the semester, he uses pastel along with marker and colored pencil, and also just certain opaque, like gouache or certain opaque white. Okay, so I've removed this fireplace and chimney because I prefer the appearance of this like this. This I started working on over the weekend, and I was using these markers that I suggested, and I was produced this the brick. The first thing I did is I just laid down solid over the entire surface this one, which is E31 brick beige. Brick beige. Get it? Now you can see there's a little bit more going on with, there's some shading, there is variation in the brick color. If you look at a brick wall, you can see there are a lot of different variations on the appearance of brick. I would like you to do this as if it is a more natural, like industrial brick, rather than like a glazed ceramic or anything like that. You certainly could, but realistically, with these exterior walls and windows, this should be like an industrial brick. So it's drawn with a black line around the edge of the bricks, which is maybe not how you would actually see it, but one thing that you want to do in an interior drawing and rendering is to make sure you communicate clearly what it's supposed to be. One way is the color, and with brick you can get that detail, something that will, where is, can you pass me my triangle right there, please? Whoa. Something that I did a little bit in here, there's a little bit of white that I put on the edge. If you do this, the vanishing point is there in the picture, by the way.
What do you mean white you put on that? Or
Like,
you're about to put it on?
Yes. So there's a little, they're very light here. Let me make sure I get this in the right spot. So if I put a little bit of this, it gives it a little bit of dimension. Not a lot. You don't have to go, and you certainly don't want to do a white line around every brick. That would look weird. That would have a,
Just every other line.
that would give you a flat, just a few of them, especially where it gets dark, where you might see a little bit of highlight.
So will you do that here as well?
Yeah. And you might, you do that, it might look, I guess to give it a little bit of enhanced appearance of realism. And you might be able to get away with not doing that at all in a drawing like that. Shoot. Yeah. That's pretty good. Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. All right. So, backing up a little bit, I'm going to take a blank one of these. Make sure you put a barrier sheet down because the marker will bleed through. So you take a piece of 11 by 17. Thank you. There. I'm going to keep this here so I can pass colors and also mix colors. And this is a palette for mixing colors. So here, like the brick beige gives me that color. And if I'm going to start this out, filling in a large area like this, really I would just do this flat. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be really flat and solid, considering that you're going to create variation in the wall.
So the chisel end is what we use.
I like the chisel end. This will work if you use either like with the sketch markers you have the brush end, and this one, I think they call this the classic, has the a more rigid point. But I like the chisel end because you can turn it up on its edge and get a sharper, you can get some sharper detail, but then you can put it on the flatter surface and cover more area.
And it doesn't matter if it's like completely like perfect.
No. You're going to go over this in layers, and so you can get away with some unevenness. And even if you do this, if you brush the marker out, this is more saturated and this gets lighter. That can give you that appearance of light changing across the wall surface just by the way you're using the marker. Here, getting in around the plant, there, and on this copy paper, the marker does tend to bleed a little bit, so it soaks in and spreads just a little. So you want to be careful of that. And if it does go over into some other surface that you don't want to be this color, it'll be all right. You can fix it. Most of the time, if you can do it, you can undo it. So good. Now I want to watch the overlap. When you, if you let the marker dry and then go back over it, it'll usually be a little bit darker. So try not to take too much time. Oops, I'm going to make the window frame darker anyway. Can leave a little sliver of light on the edge there. Not draw on the table. See, this is it can be a little harder to do it that way when it's short little strokes. You can see I'm getting, I'll get some marker strokes, so I might just say that was a poor choice and do that. Good enough. The molding down here, I'm going to just give that a little bit of this. I'm going to adjust the color later. All right, so that will give you a base for the brick wall. Then you'll use a brown colored pencil.
Color is that brown?
That's dark brown. Dark brown. That's the gray one. Where is there's a mug with some things. Do I have it over there? No, it's in the other room. I'll get that later. That's actually, well, it's a watercolor pencil, but it'll do the same thing. White. Maybe a little red. Why not? Let's see. I'm going to take this other color, the E13 light suntan. So on here I'm going to use my sketch version of the brick beige also. And my gray number N2. That's neutral gray too. So if I take the neutral gray, it'll help to knock the saturation down a little bit. I don't want it to be so super strong. But even here, with the brush nib, you can start to just specifically hit some of those brick shapes. When it's going to dry lighter, and I'm being a little cautious. You can see that some of the stuff I was doing there. And I had another, a little bit like more of the brick beige. We'll darken it a little bit more. And I would bring this out, all the way here. With the bricks in the window frame, the window opening, I would put some variation in those also. So this, the light suntan has a little bit of a brownish, reddish orange. I don't want to get it too red, but I do, I want it to look here. And I'm going to be a little bit more careful. I'm not spilling out of all of these. One good way to know how should you color the brick in this is to look at an image of a brick wall.